In the history of Eck, we have many cases of Eck masters who appear in disguise to people to give them a blessing of God. But they will put them to some kind of test, and it's up to the people to either accept the love by giving something small and then receiving the love, or rejecting it. The next thing, the man is halfway across the room in the lobby, and he shouts back at her at the top of his voice. He says, "Are you Jesus or Buddha? Who are you? Who are you truly? Do you know? Or are you too attached to time?" And then he vanished. She looked for him everywhere, and she could not find this man, but she was all torn up inside. It was as if, she said, her atoms had been completely taken out and replaced and put back in a new way.
This isn't a question for her anymore. This question just became personal. Who are you truly? Not your age, not your job, not your title, not your achievements, not your mistakes. Who are you truly spiritually? When I heard that question, I immediately stopped thinking about the woman and I started thinking about myself. If someone asked me that question today, how would I answer? And how would you answer? Who are you beneath everything life has placed on top of you? Who are you when the labels disappear? Who are you when nobody's watching? That question alone could keep me reflecting for weeks. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my Journey Faithful Compassion Hub. My name is Beatrice, and I'm so glad you are here. On this channel, we talk about spiritual growth, dreams, life lessons, emotional healing, and the beautiful journey of the soul. Today, we are doing something a little different. Usually, I listen to Harold's talk, then I share my reflections afterward. But on this particular story, I found myself wanting to interrupt Harold, but not because I disagree with him, because some of the things he said touched me so deeply that I found myself wanting to stop and think about them. Some parts challenged me, some parts made me uncomfortable, and some parts made me ask myself difficult questions. What if Spirit has tried to teach me something before, but I completely missed it? So today, instead of waiting till the end, I'm inviting you into the conversation. We are going to listen together. And whenever something touches my heart, I'm going to pause and share what I'm feeling. So, Sri Harold Klemp, we are listening.
Yesterday I had the pleasure to meet a family, and this morning early the wife wrote me a letter, a 5-page letter, and I got it and read it. She told a very interesting story here. Back in 1975, she had been at the Eck Worldwide Seminar in October, this annual event that was being held in Seattle, Washington. And she was working with the seminar hosts. She was out in the lobby, and this one, she called him a bum, came off the street. He was a tall person, swarthy, and he just seemed to be there to make her day miserable.
Okay, Sri Harold, we are only a few minutes into the story and I'm already uncomfortable because the moment you mentioned the word bum, I noticed something. My mind immediately formed a picture before I knew anything about him, before he spoke, before I knew his story. I had already decided who he was, and if I'm being completely honest, most of us do that. We see someone's appearance, the way they are dressed, the neighborhood they come from, and without realizing it, we already written a story about them in our minds. You know what this reminds me? There have been times in my own life when people judged me before they knew me, and that didn't feel so good. So, why is it so easy for us to do the same things to others? Maybe that's why the story begins this way. Maybe Spirit is already asking us a question. Can you see beyond appearance? Or appearance is controlling what you see? Whee! Sri Harold, let's continue.
At one point he said, "Lend me some money so I can get some food." And she's just about to get her money out. The man reaches into his own wallet, pulls out a $20 bill, says, "I'll be right back, gotta get myself a hamburger." A few minutes later, he comes waltzing in the door, finishing up in his hamburger. And he keeps going around and he keeps playing these games with her. Finally, he sits down beside her and he said, "That's a pretty watch. Give me your watch." She says, "What?" He says, "Give me your watch." She explained to him her mother had given it to her, and she wasn't about to part with her watch. So this man asked for her watch, and she refused. And then he said, "What's the matter? Are you too attached to time?" And she didn't know what to say. And to make matters worse, she is completely torn now, wondering, is this a master or is this a bum? And what's going on? And it was really causing her a lot of distress.
Wait, no, we are not moving past this so quickly. Because when I first heard him ask for her watch, I thought this man has lost his mind. Who walks up to a stranger and asks for their watch? But then he asks something so interesting. Are you attached to time? Are you attached to time? And suddenly I wasn't thinking about the watch anymore. I was thinking about myself because honestly, I'm attached to time. And maybe some of you are too. We worry about getting old. We worry because our prayers have not been answered yet. We worry because we are not where we thought we would be by now. We worry because success is taking too long, or healing is taking so long. We worry because life isn't following our schedule. And while we are staring at the clock, Spirit may be trying to teach us something. Let me ask you a question. What are you holding onto so tight right now? What is taking so much space in your mind that you might be missing the lesson standing right in front of you? That question hits me hard. Sri Harold, we can continue.
And he asked a couple more times, and she refused. And she's all the time wondering here, now is this an act master or is this just a bum? Makes a difference, right? In the history of Ek, we have many cases of Ek masters who appear in disguise to people to give them a blessing of God. But they will put them to some kind of test, and it's up to the people to either accept the love by giving something small and then receiving the love, or rejecting it. And I'd say in most cases, the first time, people usually reject the blessing of God that comes through one of these Ek masters because their disguises are very good. And when they leave, you're still not sure. And then maybe a couple of weeks later or a couple of months later, then you have an inner experience, and there you see the master, and he shows himself to you in his full light. And he says, I met you, and I ask you for something. I ask you for a token, but you would not give it to me when all I wanted to give you was the blessing of God. And then, of course, the real learning begins on the inner planes, because by the time the master presents himself like this, then the individual is just about ready to listen. Then he's ready to listen and get the wisdom of God, saying, well, I made one mistake, so I don't want to make a mistake here in my dreams too.
Can we sit here for a moment, because I may understand exactly how she felt. Imagine wondering, am I meeting an ordinary stranger, or am I standing in the middle of a spiritual lesson? I don't know about you, I would be confused, and maybe that's the point. Because spirit doesn't always arrive looking spiritual. Sometimes spirit arrive looking inconvenient. Sometimes it arrives looking uncomfortable. And sometimes spirit arrives disguised as a very thing we would normally avoid. And that's where the test begins. Sri Harold, as I'm listening to this, I'm realizing something. Most of us think we would recognize the spiritual lesson if it happened. But would we? Or would we explain it away? Would we dismiss it? Or would we judge it? Would we walk right past it? That's a question I'm honestly asking myself right now. Okay, Sri Harold, let's keep going.
And to make matters worse, up comes a woman dressed in white, goes up to this bum and embraces him, and just then this Indian family from England comes up to the same beggar. They bow down to him, and they very reverently tell this man their name. And then they go away, and she's wondering, what's going on here? Am I the only one who's missing something?
Now, this part really gets me because suddenly other people seem to recognize what she doesn't. And I can feel her confusion. Have you ever felt that way? Like everybody else understands what's happening spiritually, and you are the only one sitting there asking questions. I have had moments like that, moments where I wondered, am I missing something? And maybe some of you watching have felt that too. Maybe you have listened to other people share their own experience and thought, why that hasn't happened to me too? Why am I still searching? Why am I still trying to understand? But maybe the search itself is part of the journey. Maybe questions are part of growth. Maybe uncertainty is not proof that spirit has abandoned us. Maybe it's proof that we are still learning. Okay, Sri Harold, let's keep going.
The next thing, the man is halfway across the room in the lobby, and he shouts back at her at the top of his voice. He says, "Are you Jesus or Buddha? Who are you? Who are you truly? Do you know? Or are you too attached to time?" And then he vanished. She looked for him everywhere, and she could not find this man, but she was all torn up inside. It was as if, she said, her atoms had been completely taken out and replaced and put back in a new way. Now, this happened back in 1975, and it's 18 years later now. Over the years, she has told this story to her husband and her children many times. So yesterday they were in a restaurant, and as they sat down and were eating, in walks a little bitty bum. And the mother says to her family, "I wish I had one more chance to give because I missed the chance back in 75. And so the family got up, they paid their bill, went out the door, they gathered themselves together to come back to the hotel. And this little bum came out, and he came up directly to the woman, and he said, I wonder if I could ask you for, and she's wondering, she's been all torn up here again. She's saying, if he asks me for money, I know he's going to take it out for a bottle or drugs. I don't know if I can do it, no matter what I told my family. Then he says, I was wondering if you'd buy me a meal. Well, of course, this she can do because she knows where the money's going. She has no problem feeding him. She just wants to make sure the money's going to go to feed him. So the husband of this wife reaches in to his pocket, gives her his wallet. She takes the wallet and the bum. They walk into the restaurant, and she orders this man a meal, what he wants to eat. And then she tells the clerk at the cash register, she gives the money, and she says, okay, I want to pay for his meal and let him have the change. And so all this takes place, and the man looks at her and he says, thank you. And she said, I was very happy to do this for you. And the little bum looked startled and like, you are? And she smiled and she said, yes, I'm very happy that I could do this for you. And she walked outside, and there was a woman sitting in a car who had seen the whole thing, and she was sitting there just kind of smiling, like, this was the right thing to do. And so when she and her family came back to the seminar, into the room last night, an announcement came out for her, asking her name, and then said, the Living Egg Master wants to see you. And so then we met last night. You see, it took since 1975 for this whole experience to come about, through many different walkways and through many different detours.
Oh, wow. Sri Harold, please pause right there. This isn't a question for her anymore. This question just became personal. Who are you truly? Not your age, not your job, not your title, not your achievements, not your mistakes. Who are you truly spiritually? Who are you truly spiritually? When I heard that question, I immediately stopped thinking about the woman and I started thinking about myself. If someone asked me that question today, how would I answer? And how would you answer? Who are you beneath everything life has placed on top of you? Who are you when the labels disappear? Who are you when nobody's watching? That question alone could keep me reflecting for weeks. Just like that, he disappeared. Sri Harold, that would haunt me. I would never stop thinking about that moment. 18 years. Did I hear that correctly? 18 years, not months, not weeks, not hours. You know what touches me most about this part? It's not the length of time. It's the patience of divine love. Hmm. Hmm. Because sometimes we think we miss a spiritual lesson, and that's it. Opportunity gone, door closed, game over. But spirit doesn't seem to work that way. Spirit waited, and love waited, not for 18 minutes, but for 18 years. That gives me hope because if you're watching today carrying regrets, carrying mistakes, carrying moments where you wish you can redo, maybe spirit is not finished with your story yet. Maybe there is another opportunity coming. Maybe there is another lesson coming. Maybe there is another door waiting to open. And honestly, that's a beautiful thought. I have a feeling that the powerful lessons are ahead. And that's where we're going to stop today. Because in part 2, something happened that is completely going to change the meaning of the story. A second chance and a taste of love. And before you leave, I want to ask you one question. Have you ever looked back on a moment in your life and realized later that it carried a spiritual lesson you didn't recognize at the time? I would love to hear your experience. Please, let's continue spreading love and share this video or subscribe for more videos like this. Until next time, keep singing you and keep your heart open to the quiet way Spirit teaches us every day. I love you all. May the love and sound of God guide your path.